painting table, I want to share with you some of the things that I just could not find myself. I can't imagine painting without. Everybody has their own things that they love, but I wanted to share with you what I love so that in case you want to try it, you might love it too. I don't know. So we're going to get started here, and if you have any questions about any of these items, of course, you can always give me a call. I love, love, love a lot of different things, and so I'm not going to go over absolutely everything, but I'm going to show you a few of the things that I just absolutely couldn't live without. One of the things is my Jassonia brushes. I love Jassonia brushes. I'm going to get a few of them out here. And there's a few that I just could not do my work without these to work with. And they are just a very, I don't know, they're a very durable brush. They're a brush that puts up with all of my abuse, and they just keep coming back. I've said over and over, I am miserably mean to my brushes. I do not clean them unless they're absolutely so frayed that they can't even hold a point. But this one is still not, you can tell that there must be some paint up in the ferrule, because if you look really carefully, let me find the camera. It's not gonna, it's pretty, it's not like the best liner anymore. But if I get it wet, touch it to my brush, or touch it to my paper towel, it'll still hold that nice point and it doesn't fray out. I like the fiber on this, the Choice series. That's just so nice. No, it's not the Choice series. It's just this black fiber. I don't know what it is. This is the Choice Detailer, and it's a little bit different. It's the newest in the line, and I really, really love those as well. So I have always been, I know that there's the whole two sides of the house. There's the flat and there's the angle painters with the angle brushes and the flat brushes, just the squared off brushes. I did learn to paint with an angle brush, and it was about 6 months after I took my first beginning class that I realized I didn't like them. I will use them on an occasion, a very rare occasion. I do like them to make stroke roses, but as far as just a regular painting brush, I love to have brushes that have a lot of water in them. And so the Jassonia brushes hold a lot of water for me, which is really, really nice. But they also, when I side load, I can take this 3/4 brush and I can side load just a few little hairs. And that other side with all the water is really going to work for me and help me to let that paint move. So when you see me painting, when you see me painting, it's rare that I have less than a 1/2 inch brush in my hand. And oftentimes it's a 3/4. Another one of my favorites that I have to have is the Oval Wash series. Now, they are magnificent. This one has base coated, I can't tell you how many convention pieces. It's got paint in it, but it still works like a champ. One of the things that I love about this is if I get this brush wet, I'm going to show you. Let's see. I want it to show up. So I'm going to grab some periwinkle. I love periwinkle. That color is just my happy place. You can't possibly be anything but happy with periwinkle in your life. So I got my my Oval Wash brush wet, and even though I've used it, can you see that chisel that's holding? It's holding a nice sharp chisel edge. And this belly of the brush holds a ton, an absolute ton of water. I do let it soak in some water, not soak, but I get it wet and then I put it off to the side on my palette for a little bit until I'm ready to use it. Then I am able to go back and use it, and it's wet enough, it's hydrated. When I load it, I side load it just like I would a flat with probably less paint, and I wiggle it as I side load it and get that all nice and you know, just juicy. I usually have a pipette at my water thing, or I use the handle of my brush and bang it on my paper or on my paper palette. And that way, if my brush is losing its chisel, and this brush I was trying to show off because it has been used and abused, but see how it's splaying, it's open. If that were a flat brush, I would never use it. But look what happens when I take this little ornament and I go to shade. That's periwinkle. Look how pretty and soft I could get that. Now let's go back with a little more paint to really show you. So if I take, I don't want that to be bouncing around for you. It just, I could go around a tray. I could go around an entire perimeter of something, and I could walk it out. So I keep going, and you see those stripes, but because there's so much water, there's not a whole lot to have to mop. So I may decide that I want to, after waiting a minute, give a little more open time, I just go right into the paint and I mop on it, and then I might use my edge. But it's very forgiving because you've got that, all that water in your brush. Now this line wasn't the line that I put on there, it was just scratched. I'm going to show you something else on this. But this oval wash brush is just wonderful. Another thing that you can do with them that has really made, oh my goodness, it's made a difference, a huge difference, is clouds and snow. So I popped down to my 1/2 inch here. I'm going to go on the other side. Now, if I want, I can put in some clouds, and it's like spreading butter. It's just so nice. And then I've got that nice clean edge with lots of water, and I can really get that to wash out. My favorite mop is my middle finger. And then I can just really get those beautiful clouds in there. Well, I think that you can see how that would easily translate into snow. And I know that this is the wrong color and probably not what you'd want to use, but it's just a really great brush for washy applications, for side loading, and I can play in that forever. It just lets me do my thing. And if I get my paint off my brush on my paper towel, it'll even help me to pick some up. I've really messed that. I've messed with it too much, played too much. Got a little more paint. When in doubt, add more, right? But you can see where that's real pretty snow then after a while. You can keep adding layer by layer. Have you ever noticed that when we look up in the sky and look at some clouds, they're just gorgeous, but if we painted them the way that they looked at that particular moment, no one would ever believe that those were clouds. They'd say, why did that person put a bunny-shaped cloud in the sky? Well, because that's what they saw at the time. So those are my favorite brushes. I'm pretty much a Jasonia kind of a gal. I like a couple of others, and that is, I have enjoyed the Chris Hoy liner. Here's her perfect liner, her script liner, her epic liner. Those are available on her website. The other ones I like are the Dynasty brushes for their, that's not a Dynasty one, the Dynasty dry brushes. And they are flat, more so than an oval wash, and I just like them for a lot of different reasons, so I use both. I also like their comb brushes, or rake brushes is what I call them. So you've got all these different kinds of brushes. And I hear tell that in this black fiber, soon there will be a filbert and a flat. So I'm anxious to try those. Other tools that I absolutely love. I could not work, design or otherwise, without a pencil. And I'm a pencil snob. I only use Ticonderoga pencils, or a mechanical pencil with graphite that I like. I've tried more expensive ones, but this is just a Papermate, and I like this one. I like the feel of it. Plus, it's got a really long, nice eraser, and every time you buy one of these, you get several refills. So this is a great pencil. Other erasers that I love is when I put on pattern lines, sometimes you can't get to those little places where you need to remove things. And so I have a few different erasers that I use for pattern lines. This one is just a round, and I think most of you have seen these. They're about as big around, I don't know, as maybe the shaft part of a stylus or something. They're not big, but they're not super little. The other one that I have is this one, and it's got just this great little eraser, and it just gets really close into those little nicks and crannies and grooves. And then the final one is this one, and this is a rectangle shape. And if I'm having trouble getting a line off or something, I pick one of these special shapes. I take that little bit of dog hair off of it. We have 2 golden retrievers. There's always golden retriever glitter all over my home, and my painting and my brushes. So we've got the rectangle shape too. The last eraser that I always have on my table is not for erasing pattern lines, although I guess you could. It's my pink pearl eraser. Now, I love this. I am not a Q-tip gal, and I don't have anything against those of you who use Q-tips. I just don't. But it's a personal choice, right? But I am not beyond using this little deal. I make sure that it's clean on the end. I touch it to my tongue. I'm so sorry that I do. And then if I've got something, and well, maybe I could do it on this one that I demoed on. I did touch it to my tongue. And that way, when I go back here, it's got just enough pumice or grit, or that it will start to take that off. And if I really let that go, I might even get it a little bit damp with my brush. I can take some fresh paint pretty well down and give it another go. Okay, so that's just a pink pearl. The other ones work well. I guess maybe in my head, it's the pink pearl that does the trick. I don't know if it's better or not, but that's the one I prefer to use. So those are some of the things. And while we're talking about pencils, there's also a chalk pencil that I love. This one is Bowen, I'm not sure. You can get them on the Amazon website. You can also get them at, Joann's and some of those places, and you can use your coupon, because they're about, I don't know, they're between $10 and $15. Plus, I don't know how much the refills, I don't recall. But these are really nice when you're doing something on a dark color. I'm looking for a dark color. We're going to do something on this later. Sneak peek, sneak peek, sneak peek. But it's really nice for me to be able to draw in some pattern lines, and then with a damp brush, they go away. So this particular brand I really like. And so I'll come back to this. So that's one of the things that I love, love, love to use. Let me see. When I'm designing, I might redesign something with one of those little chalk pencils if I don't quite like a little part of it. Another tool that I don't think I could be without is my rechargeable fan. It's got 3 speeds. It also sits like this or sits like that. It's not going to do it right now, but it does, trust me. And the best part is it's got 3 speeds, you guys. It's awesome. Listen. There's the first one, the second one, and the third one. And the third one is really strong. Let me see if it'll work with this. I've got my Post-it, but you can see it blows my Post-it clear back. It's really strong. So I would highly recommend these. They have them in all different brands on Amazon. It's got a little port here for a charger, and that charger will go in, and then it's a USB charger, so you can always have this ready to go. It's got mine has a little light so that when it's on, you get a little blue light that comes on. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just really great, and that way I don't have to have any kind of plug-in or, you know, a big bulky tool. Another thing is these are really tools for my water basin. And this water basin, usually my water basin is fairly clean, and I'm not just fibbing. This one isn't. But I've got my clean side and my dirty side. That's just how I learned and my habit that I've built. I've always got my pipette there. Not always, but most of the time I have a pipette there. And that way I can just grab some clean water and put it on my palette. One of the things that I've recently discovered are these silicone brushes. And this particular one is a face model. I got it at the Daiso store. It's got a little suction cup on the back of it. And I don't know if you can see this in my water container, but there's a purple one, and I'm poking on it. It's adhered to the edge. So if I take and get that suction cup a little bit wet, poke gently on the side, I've now got a little brush that I can rub my paintbrush against to get it clean. It's got some bristles, it's also got some little nubbies, and it really works great. In the bottom of my brush tank, I have one of those silicone scrubbers, and I just feel like it's nicer to my brushes, and it still helps me to scrub that paint out of there. I may not always wash my brushes, but I try to be kind and nice to them. Okay, and the last tool I think that I intended to share with you is this turntable easel. Doug Fredrickson from Pinecraft makes these, and you guys, if I could for just a minute, oh, I got eraser dust on here. He does such a lovely job on everything. This is sanded. This is not just, you know, raw wood edges. He does such a nice job. But this is a slanting easel, and I'm telling you, after being someone who's had 2 rear end accidents and a neck that bothers them, this is a godsend. It's got some little grooves in the back, and I know a lot of you probably have these or have seen these. And then this little thing comes down and it adjusts so that if you want it really at an angle, you can put it closest to you and in that little groove. This is easier to do when I'm doing it for myself than trying to show you so you can see. So now I've got an angle about like that. But if I put it at the very far end, I've got just a little slant. And let me tell you why I like this. So I've already told you that my neck gives me some grief. And when I'm looking all the way down and over, that's when it gives me the most grief. Doug gives you this turntable, which is on a Lazy Susan, and the little turntable with the handle on it. He also gives you this little wedge with a hole in it. I haven't done it yet, but I'll take a piece of pretty ribbon and I'll string it through that hole and tie it to my handle, because this little wedge will now go right underneath that turntable and keep my turntable from moving freely. And as soon as I get rid of it, of course, it moves really, really easy. And then Doug also includes this little, it's just shelf liner stuff, but what it does is it helps to keep your things from sliding down when you've got this angle going. One of the things that I like this most for is for ornaments. Now this is a big ornament. This was poor planning on my part. But I'll put ornaments on here, and that way, especially if they're the same ornament, I can paint an element on this one, go to this one, go to this one, and by the time I get back to the first one, I'm ready to go on to the next step. I paint around 40 ornaments a year, and I give them to special people in my life and my family and stuff. And so this really comes in handy, and I can take this very easily in our fifth wheel when we travel. And so I use it for ornaments all the time. The other thing that it's really nice for, and I was just using it to finish up a UFO, and this is a Maxine Thomas piece. It's the insert that goes into that cute little tin tray. But this is a fairly big piece, and sometimes it's your hand gets tired or whatever, or it's bulky or cumbersome. Man, it's nice to have this available to be able to turn it to whatever direction I need. It is just really, really nice. And you can use something even bigger if you want. And that's this guy. This is a 14-inch jar. This is the big guy, the big jar. And this is a new design that I'm working on. And it's a little, I don't know, it's just little gnomes in the garden. And I just thought it was fun. And I'm working on the bugs. And I've got my little bee here and my snail and my little ladybug. And I don't know if that'll be it or not. There might be some other visitors to the garden. But these guys, this is where they're at for now. And then we'll have a cute little thing. But when I was showing you last time how I did the lettering, this is something I usually do, is use this turntable, because it will keep it at an angle which is easier for me to see rather than be all the way over it. And then I've got my see-through ruler that I'm able to see through to get all of those lines extra straight. So this is really a handy tool. Doug sells these for $25. He's quickly shipping things, and he is doing a really great job. He's a meticulous craftsman, and he's just doing a wonderful job. So if you're in need of wood products, it is Pinecraft, all one word, inc.com. And you can get any of my wood pieces for the most part. The turntable, he's also carrying all the pieces for Jamie Mills Price and for Lori Speltz. So this is the turntable from Doug. The last thing that I wanted to share with you is I had some people ask me, people always ask me how I varnish, and they always ask me how I base coat. So I'm going to show you how I varnish some other time, but how I base coat. I have a couple of ways that I prefer, and one of them has just been added in the recent months. The one that's been added is the DecoArt Chalky Gesso. I was watching Lori Speltz on a Wednesday night, and she talked about chalky gesso, and I hadn't tried it. So I am so fortunate that I'm a helping artist, and I called and said, or emailed one of the two and said, oh, Rosemary, could you please send me some chalky gesso to try? Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, I am a fan. This is chalky gesso. This is one cover. This is a one and done. I coated it with a chalky gesso, let it dry, and I gave it a nice light sanding with, oh, don't you miss the super film? I went to our local Harbor Freight and I got just a really light sandpaper. It feels pretty smooth. And then I also like these sanding discs. But I just give it a light, I call it a knockdown, and then my surface is ready to paint. It's great stuff, you guys. The other way that I've always done, and that I still probably will do, especially if I have another base coat, color that I want to use. This one has paint, dirty paint water splashed on it. That's really nice. But I use the multi-purpose sealer from Deco Art, mixed 50-50 with any color paint that you choose. This one is burlap. And you mix it half and half and you give it a coat. I left it this way so that you could see what one coat gave. Oops, what one coat gave. Not bad, but you do need to then put just full strength paint on it after you've put on the multi-purpose plus the sealer, or plus the paint, sorry. So those are the things that I am, that I like today, and I am hoping that you do too. If you ever have any questions, you can always give me a call. At my numbers and things are on my website. They're on the back of all my pattern packets, or you can message me through Facebook or at my email address, which is also on my website or on the back of all my pattern packets. I hope that all of you are happy and healthy and well, and that despite all that's going on in the world, you're finding some enjoyment through your painting and your painting friendships. Please be well and happy painting.